You are now listening to Rings Kings Boxing World.
You're now tuned in to Ring Kings Boxing. What's happening, Fight family? What's going on? Welcome to the current episode, this week episode of Ring King Boxing World. We're in the building. I'm Big Q chiming in on this episode, man, and we're going to talk about a lot in this episode. It's Canelo Alvarez against Callum Smith's recap, Triple G, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. We're going to talk about it all on this episode of Ring Kings Boxing. Bringing in with me on Ring Kings, my host, co-host of the show, Eddie Too Mean Johnson. What's going on, Too Mean?
Hey, what's good?
My friend, just checking out a lot of stuff going on right now in the world of boxing, my friend. And after a huge weekend with Triple G opening up on the 18th and then Canelo having his bout against Smith, a very interesting weekend of fights. And we're going to start right there with the Canelo Alvarez against Callum Smith as he dominates in unanimous fashion to win and unify super middleweight titles. So Canelo Alvarez, boxing's biggest superstar, puts on a dominant show Saturday night as he caps that 2020 major fight slate, cruising to a unanimous decision win over previously undefeated champion Callum Smith, and then winning the WBA, WBC, and Ring Magazine super middleweight titles. The scorecards read 119 to 109, 119 to 109, and 117 to 111, all for Alvarez in front of a 15,000 fans, which is 20% capacity of San Antonio's Alamo Dome. Alvarez 24-1 and 2 with 36 knockouts. Stalked Smith all game, hit him with some really vicious shots. Bust him up pretty good with body shots and all that kind of stuff. 27-1 was Callum Smith in this one, but he damn sure wasn't a Callum. He got pushed over, no doubt about it, punishing him with an array of consistent jabs and uppercuts, hooks, 12 rounds, and Alvarez became the first unified champion from Mexico in super middleweight history to do what he's doing. He says, quote, "I'm the best in the world," Alvarez said on DAZN's broadcast via an interpreter. "In the first round, I tried to see what he brings, the skills or whatever, but like you see, I showed him what I am." By the later rounds, the intrigue of the fight shifted from who would win to whether Smith would survive Alvarez's devastating blows and make it the distance. Now, Callum Smith in this matchup, he looked kind of funny looking because this guy was every bit of 6'3". He had a 7-inch height advantage and an 8-inch reach advantage against a 5'8" Alvarez, and he could not make him work. He could not make his height advantage. He couldn't use the reach at all. Me, I didn't like the fight at all. I'm gonna let Too Mean chime in on this. I thought this guy should have fought a better fight than this. I didn't like how he fought him. He often leaned up against the ropes to allow Alvarez to tee off him. And to me, I just think basically the son bitch donated his belts to Canelo Alvarez, because you can't tell me somebody with an 8-inch advantage, and I've seen this guy fight before. He was really good at using that reach to keep guys away from him. And even though Alvarez was slipping, he could have adjusted for that. He didn't. To me, this guy just didn't do what he was supposed to do. He landed 43 of his punches. Alvarez was considered one of the top pound-for-pound boxers in the world's best-selling fighter and already a 4-division champion. Now that he's won the Ring Magazine title in 3 different weight classes, he continues to build on his lore. He landed 43 of his punches, 43% of his punches, and 57% of power punches on Saturday per CompuBox, in a complete performance in which his defense also shined. Smith landed only 18% of his punches and 24% of his power punches. Whatever happened to the double jab? Guess this fucking guy don't know how to do that. It was Alvarez's first fight since parting with Golden Boys, and he did a good service because he got this guy out of here. In a tweet, he says, "I'm back. Check WBC middleweight champion. Check WBA super middleweight champion. Check Ring Magazine super middleweight champion." Alvarez did it all. At the age of 30 with 57 pro fights, Canelo still looks firmly in his prime, Too Mean. And he was able to beat this guy, taking him down. Alvarez said after the fight he feels great in the super middleweight division, and noting that he doesn't want to fight without the scale. He says his main goal is to unify all the belts in the division. And of course, who's left? Billy Joe Saunders currently holds the WBO belt. Caleb Plant has the IBF belt. But the biggest lingering question is whether Alvarez will agree to a trilogy fight with Gennady Golovkin after 2 highly contested fights that ended the draw win. "I don't run from nobody. I just showed that I fought against the best." Alvarez said if he's going to take the fight, I'll take it, but I just showed I fight against the best. If you don't run from nobody, then I would love to see you fight against Charlo or one of those type of people, some of these young, hungry lions, as opposed to these statue-ass fighters who don't know what the hell they doing. They're good in other fights, but then they get in there against Alvarez and turn into statues like this Smith dude did. What a complete, utter taxi cab driver this guy was. I expect him to use his reach on Canelo Alvarez. He couldn't do it, and he didn't have a perfect game plan. Then it turned into survival. This guy was too mean. What you thought about this fight? I ain't think too much of it.
Oh, no. If skills play fields, obviously he ain't not use his physical attributes, his height and his reach advantage. He kept bending down like he was giving the fight to him. You know what I'm saying? It's like he was outdated. You know what I'm saying? You know how you get like a old ass phone as opposed to these new technology phones, you know what I'm saying? Advanced technology. That's what he looked like. Like he was fighting a damn robot. Old model. He was fighting against a new model robot. I just had smashed, man. I was like, damn, I saw this motherfucker. He sit up there bending down to his height. I was like, he wasn't using nothing. He wasn't using his height and his reach advantage. He was, you know what I'm saying? He couldn't keep him at bay because Alvarez kept slipping his jab and shit. So this motherfucker, he couldn't adjust. So he could at least start jabbing to his stomach and his chest, just to keep him at bay, you know what I'm saying, to land something on him. But he was just, like I say, he was slipping and coming in, banging him up. And he couldn't do, he ain't had no answer for it.
That's terrible.
You hear me? That's the they just straight up and down, man. They always easy to hit. I think he picked them for a reason.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that, bro. I mean, I really didn't like how this Callum Smith guy fought Canelo Alvarez. You're right, he was bending down and getting rid of his own. I don't know why a 5'3" dude would bend down like that to fight Canelo Alvarez. He would often lean up against the ropes, inviting Canelo to tee off on him. He did that more than a few times in the fight, which kind of made me wonder. And like it was a really bullshit performance to say the least by Callum Smith. You know, I think he went out there and did a disservice to the boxing family. To be honest with you, to watch this level of this was supposed to be a good fight where he presented some challenges to Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, when you're 5'8" fighting a guy that's 6'3" and he has 8-inch reach advantage, even though you can slip that jab, there are ways that you can double up on the jab. You can make life difficult for a smaller fighter. This guy didn't. He invited Canelo Alvarez to come in and hammer him, and Canelo did that. So I mean, in my opinion, Callum Smith is a goddamn bum, man. I mean, he donated these belts to Canelo Alvarez. If you watch the fight, this was a catastrophe, man. It was absolutely ridiculous, man, for him to be doing what he was doing. Totally ridiculous, man. You have to compete, just be totally blind to not understand what kind of nonsense that they were involved in this matchup. And Canelo Alvarez gets all of the rewards as he continues to move forward. He's boxing's highest earner right now, and nobody's trying to topple him or getting in his way of taking it away from him. So it's a lot of stuff moving with Canelo Alvarez right now. And obviously, whatever he wants, he's getting, because this goddamn guy didn't pose no kind of resistance whatsoever to Canelo Alvarez in this fight. He got what he wanted. Now, he hit Canelo with some shots, but he didn't nearly do enough. He didn't throw punches and bunches like he was supposed to. He could have really made it hard for Canelo Alvarez and really frustrated Canelo had he would use his reach and double jab and true combinations. He could have kept Canelo and frustrated him the whole night. He simply could not do it, would not do it, and had situations where he invited the punishment, helping Canelo Alvarez to win. So, I mean, I thought it was a complete garbage ass fight, in my opinion. Y'all might see a difference, but Canelo Alvarez puts another mark on his belt by mark ass Callum Smith. All right, let's move to the next fight here. Gennady Golovkin overwhelms another cab driver by the name of Camille Cerameta as he was able to beat him the day before the Canelo Alvarez bout, if the 38-year-old wanted to show he remains capable of displaying some of his most masterful performances in boxing, Golovkin did okay. He showed some technical prowess in a 7-round stoppage victory over Sarameta in Florida to defend his IBF middleweight title. Now, Golovkin set the record for the most title defenses by a middleweight in boxing history. He has 21 of them. But most importantly for his career, he had the type of outing that showed he's worthy of facing some of the sport's top names, including a potential third fight with Canelo Alvarez. That is all he cares about. Once he gets that third fight, he'll more than likely probably retire. He doesn't want to take on he doesn't want nothing to deal with Charlo. These are safe fights for Gennady Golovkin, because he also knows that he's chasing a payday at 38, and eventually after he gets that, he's going to retire. We know that he's looking for a payday. They're not saying that, but you can see how his actions are. They're not taking on any hungry lions. They're running away from people. And of course, they say, and of course, what Eddie Hearn says, that he has plenty of gas left in the tank. The most exciting boxer in the world, still devastating power in both hands. Want to see him in the mega fights this year. But all he knows is only 2 words. That's Canelo Alvarez. Now, to me, I think you've seen this fight, and his first 14 months, Golovkin, who's 41-1 with 36 knockouts, knocked out Sarameta down 4 times onto an onslaught that started at the fight's onset. The champion sent Sarameta to the canvas at the end of the first round with an uppercut followed by a left hand over the top, smashed him down. From there, Triple G overwhelmed Sarameta, who's 21-2 with 5 knockouts. The mandatory challenger out of Poland, who was fighting in the United States for the second time in his career. Golovkin's final knockdown came off a jab in the 7th, a testament to his dominance throughout the night. Now, the middleweight champion from Kazakhstan origin, he scored 2 knockdowns in the first 3 rounds for the first time since 2016. He knocked out Dominic Wade in the second round, according to ESPN Stats and Information Research. Now, in 5 of the 7 rounds, Golovkin landed more power punches than jabs, according to CompuBox Stats. He connected 56.5% on those shots. However, the jab set up Golovkin's big shots throughout the night and was the point of emphasis in his third fight with trainer Jonathan Banks. For the most of Golovkin's reign as a middleweight, he was known as a violent power puncher who sought knockouts. Banks sought to change that. So, of course, you see changes in the game on Golovkin as he continues to move forward here. He knocks down Sarameta, takes him out, the mandatory challenger for his IBF title. Thoughts on this fight to me?
I saw the I ain't like it. You know what I'm saying? He cherry picked. You know what I'm saying? He when Charlo was mandatory, he ain't fighting. He ain't want to fight him. You know what I'm saying? So he cherry picking, man. Like I said, he looking for that big payday. You know what I'm saying? So he can retire on some money, which you can't blame him. I mean, that would be the smart thing to do, but that ain't the respected thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? He'll look good against some guys. I guess try to secure that third fight with Canelo. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what you know what I'm saying? Like you said, man, that's all he thinking about, that third fight with Canelo. Get that big payday so he can retire and stay away from them lions, because he got a pussy ass steak suit on, and once he throw him up into that cage, them lions, they gonna eat his ass alive, man.
Yeah, I think you're right. To me, a lot has to go, man. It's between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin, man. They're definitely not interested in fighting any hungry lions. That's most certainly not looking at none of that. You know, they'll take on Callum Smiths and Callum Plants to the moon come home. I mean, they just know what they're doing. They're running away from them lions. I can tell you one thing. And let's get into some more news here. Spencer, and we're going to go to the welterweight side of things. As Errol Spence says that a Bud Crawford fight Crawford might have to take a 70-30 split. Now, this was delivered coming straight from Boxing News 24. It's also on ESPN as well. When they mentioned that Crawford might have to take a 70-30 cut for a fight with Errol Spence in 2021, because that's what the truth is talking about, wanting to give the top-ranked fighter. Spence says that Crawford needs to take whatever we give him. Crawford didn't take the news too well about Errol's offering of 70-30 cut of the dough, and he sounds bitter. He says the chapter is closed now. Crawford probably should have agreed to the 60-40 offer that the IBF WBC welterweight champion Spence, who's 27-0 with 21 knockouts, previously offered the months back before his recent win over Danny Garcia. Spence tells Crawford, "I'm the big dog. I can go up to 160 and fight Canelo, said Spence to Mannix of DAZN about a fight between him and Crawford. It definitely can happen, Errol said, of the fight between him and Crawford. But I said I'm the big dog, and he got to take a back seat and take a 60-40 or 70-30 or whatever we give him, said Spence. With Spence's 2 welterweight titles and the fact that he has the pay-per-view, he's a pay-per-view star, Crawford doesn't have much to demand in a 50-50 deal. Crawford won an even split dooms a fight between him and Spence from ever happening. If Spence goes to 160 like he's talking about, Crawford can forget about ever getting a fight against him. Even if Crawford sees the light and agrees to a 30% that Errol's offering him, now that the split will likely become more likely, beats Canelo Alvarez at 160, that will increase his star power, and Crawford will be kidding himself for not agreeing to the 70-30 deal when he had the chance. Now, Crawford could be leaving. His future with Top Rank is still up for questions. Crawford's future is uncertain about him staying there, as his contract is up with them in late 2021. Aram said he's lost enough money on some of Crawford's fight to build houses in Beverly Hills. If Crawford leaves Top Rank, the grass may be greener for him with Matchroom Boxing or even PBC. It's not just Crawford's lack of charisma that's holding him back. It's his fighting style, they're saying. It's not all action type of fighter that U.S. boxing fans like to watch. That's bullshit. Spence, Canelo Alvarez, Triple G are the textbooks types of fighters people want to see. Not so. I don't agree with this writer's article on that. But I like the fact that if you watch fights with Errol Spence, he knocks guys out. And Errol and Crawford. Crawford knocks guys out. He's one of boxers' best finishers. So at 147, I think that he made a bad business decision rocking with Bobby Arum old ass. He should have went with El Heyman and the PBC champions. We'd be having these fights right now. And the reason why, in my opinion, that Errol Spence is talking like that, because he's holding two of the 4 top welterweight championship belts. And he also knows that with the third potential unification bout between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, who's also PBC, just like Errol Spence is PBC. So he understands what's going on, and he's real confident in this tone because he understands, listen, I will get the fight with Pacquiao before you ever do, you know? And if you're going to pay for a fight with Pacquiao, you're going to pay more than I do for it. So, I mean, listen, because he's represented by PBC, and the game plan was always right after he beat Sean Porter and took his belt, the 3-fight plan to unification, according to what Errol Spence told the world, him and El Heyman, was that he would fight Danny Garcia, which he did and beat him. The next fight would be Pacquiao. And then the third fight would be unification with Bud Crawford. That's what Errol Spence said. Now, the school of thought is that's disrespectful to offer 60-40 or 70-30 to Bud Crawford. No, it's not. As it's clearly obvious that Errol Spence is a side in this matchup because he's donning 2 championship titles. He's a 2-belt champion. Crawford's just 1. So forget all of the glare and the name of what Bud Crawford did and the weights outside of welter. But as a welterweight right now, you would have to take a 60-40 or a 70-30 split. And I would say to you, there's nothing wrong with that. Take that split. If you feel like you're better than that guy, take that fucking split, whoop his ass, and then name your own price at the end of the day. And let me just preference this to me before you come in here. And too often than not, we keep hearing these fighters, like Deontay Wilder in particular, who's really famous for always talking about how dangerous it is in the fight game. Like, we want to hear that. We know it's dangerous. If it's too dangerous, get your ass out of there and go talk about it on television like a lot of guys do. But in particular, fighting in the ring, and we talking about splits, Crawford needs to take a page from Money Mayweather. When he told guys that he wanted to fight, listen, pay me what you want to pay me, and I see you there, because he knew he would beat these guys. He even said that he'll fight them in phone booths. I remember him saying that. But he knew that whatever you want to give me, give me. But when I beat you, I'm going to take the belts and then I'm going to name my price. And I'm going to use this as an example because we don't even have to go back that far. We can go back as far as Andy Ruiz and what he did with Anthony Joshua. Right after Gerald Big Baby, garbage ass Big Baby Miller got thrown out of the fight because of cheating, Andy Ruiz stepped up. And in that fight, he earned the first fight. When Anthony Joshua, when he beat him and took his titles, he signed to that fight and earned $7 million from that fight. $7 million. And then when he won the belt, he almost doubled that money on the second fight when he made 13 million. So what I'm saying is when you become the champion, which he's already a champion, earned again, of course, you're going to double up even more so as sometimes your earning potential on the second fight once you beat Errol Spence. So you've holding the belt. Errol has 2. You beat Spence, you get 3 belts. And then, of course, there will be a clause in there for a rematch of some sort. But the way it's going on right now is pretty ingenious that Errol's walking right to Pacquiao to beat Pacquiao. He beats Pacquiao. He in the world for beating a legend. Then he takes on Crawford. So this will be interesting to see how it shakes, because the reality is it is Spence's world right now in the welters. And it's Bud Crawford's fault. He had every opportunity to fight Pacquiao to kind of even things up where they both have a belt apiece, and then they can both go in there at a 50-50 split. You know, so I mean, listen, this is Errol Spence's world Bud Crawford's climbed into, and we'll have to wait a few fights before we see an ultimate a middleweight unification for the first time since Zab Judah did. So I mean, to me, what are your thoughts on what I'm saying about the 70-30 split that Spence is telling Bud Crawford, or the 60-40 split? What do you think about, the idea, like a guy like what Andy Ruiz did, or even what Mayweather was saying back in the day, is about, listen, I don't care what the cost is or whatever you want, pay me, but let's get in that ring, because I know I can beat you, I'll take your belt. These current guys need to have that mentality. If you're better than that guy, go in there, take what he gives, whoop his ass, and then you can name your price. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree, because it depends on how bad Crawford won it. You know what I'm saying? He could take a page out of Mayweather's book and what Ruiz did, but he can go back a little further. What Muhammad Ali used to do: show up at the damn training camp and humiliate him, and invite all the media and shit down there, and make his ass for the fight. I'm like, nah, get that motherfucker in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Go in there and talk shit about his girl, like, I'll fuck your girl and all that shit. And make that nigga, I want to kill this motherfucker. Get that motherfucker. Make this fight happen. Like Muhammad Ali used to show up at Sonny Liston's camp. He wasn't trying to give Muhammad Ali no shot. But Muhammad Ali made him give him a shot by humiliating him, showing up at his house, putting bear traps in his fucking yard and shit, and inviting the media out there to take pictures of it. And the picture is all in the damn news and shit. You know what I'm saying? That shit, and that made Sonny Liston like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker, man. Get this motherfucker in the ring. Gave him a shot. You know what I'm saying? He could go that route, or you could say he could go that Mayweather route and say, okay, give me what you're gonna give me, and you know what I'm saying? When I whoop you, I'll name my price. That's why it's good to be a student of the game. Look at how they made those fights back in the day. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They was using strategy to get them fights, man, because they knew the people wasn't trying to fight them, so they made them fight. They made them want to fight. You know what I'm saying? You can start shit. You know what I'm saying? It's fighting. This is a fight game. To hurt business, like, look, fuck it. I'm gonna make you want to fight. You know what I'm saying? That's my take on it.
Yeah, and that's and I agree with you, man, on that. And I agree. They learning from what the guys did in the past. That was a great reference to Muhammad Ali, what he did with Sonny Liston, and these new age boxers, maybe they can learn the lessons from some of these guys so they can be able to start doing that as well. Because I can tell you one thing, man, this fight's going to happen one way or the other. I think probably if it's not late next year between Crawford and Spence, but the welterweight division is long overdue for a unified champion. And let me tell you something, it's difficult to unify the welters because there's always so many great fighters coming into the welters. A lot of really great fighters in the welters right now, to say the least, that's coming in. And it's just terrific, man, to be honest with you, to see it. You see the Virgil Ortiz Juniors, you see a lot of guys that you're not hearing from right now in the welterweights, but it's always like you see the heavyweights take a lull where nobody's interested in watching the heavyweights, but they're finally back. Welterweights have been there the whole time while the heavies weren't, or when the cruisers weren't, or the regular, the middleweights and the welterweights and even the lightweights. Those guys have been there steady carrying boxing when the heavies disappeared. It's always, in the welterweight is probably one of the most, them and the middleweights are two of the most competitive fields in all of professional boxing. and to unify the welterweight division, which hadn't been done since Zab Judah did it, and he had one challenge to it. He had one fight, and I think he lost that fight to Mayweather, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, it's interesting, man, to see, but how difficult it is to unify the welters. Now, Too Mean, I'm gonna turn it over to you before we end the show for your Too Mean take. Take it away, Too Mean.
Oh yeah, I like the young brother from Philly, Jerron Enos. You know what I'm saying? He's an up and coming dude, tough guy from Philly, very skillful. You know, so I was watching a few clips of him, man. I was like, man, this motherfucker here, he gonna be something to be reckoned with for real. You know what I'm saying? I like him and shit. You know what I'm saying? He calling them names out now. I don't think he ain't in the top 10 yet, but he calling them out. He look good. He look like he can rock with them dudes up there at the top, and them champions too. I think he can rock with them. Well, we'll see. But just keep our eye out for them.
There you go. Too Mean giving you a boxer to keep an eye out on. And this kid's interesting, man. He has a record of 24-0-1.
26-0 with 24 knockouts.
Okay, 26-0. He just recently fought Too Mean, and was it a disqualification?
I think it was an accidental headbutt that had to call a bout to a halt or something.
Okay. So that would all right. So there you go. And that was recently that he just happened. So yeah, we got to keep our eye on these young guys fight, man. And welters are loaded with them. You just hadn't heard their names yet because we're looking at the top guys in the division right now, sitting on top of it. But sooner or later, all things, these young guys are going to have an opportunity to step up and fight. So watch out. But anyway, that'll do it for Ring Kings Boxing, man. I like to thank all you guys for stopping by for Ring Kings Boxing, another fantastic episode. And remember, if you enjoy Ring Kings Boxing, please smash the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe and join Ring Kings Boxing. We keep it real here. We talk that realness here on Ring Kings Boxing. So if you enjoy the commentary, please feel free to subscribe, like the show, hit the notification, and also you can feel free to share the show where other fight fans gather as well. So I'd like to thank y'all for joining us today. Big ups to y'all, and we'll see you later. Peace.
Subscribe now and make Ring Kings Boxing your source for all the latest